Coming up Tuesday on NBA TV. Yes, the two to my left are involved, but really it's 3D's night, just asking. Timberwolves and Thunder, Knicks and Warriors, of course, because the Knicks, right?
It's Tuesday night.
Players only, baby.
Players only, baby. Come on now.
Trader pregame.
Come on now. You got to say it right. You got to say it like you mean it.
Say it. Mean it.
Players
Give it to
only,
me.
baby.
Players only.
I like that.
We're going to
say it with some feeling. What night is it?
How about issues only, baby? Because that's kind of been like the backdrop for the T-Wolves. Here's Ryan Saunders on now moving forward with Minnesota.
Definitely didn't expect to be standing here. I'll first off say how much I respect Coach Tibbs and Coach Andy Greer as well. It's tough when you spend so much time with people, on the road or just in general, and then you see you're not going to see those people as much anymore. That's a tough thing. So I'm thankful for the opportunity, though, and moving forward, I'm looking forward to seeing progress on the court and helping grow this team.
All right, from Ryan Saunders to Area 21 and our boy KG, who had a lot to say on Tibbs, obviously, who he knows. He said, good coach, going to land on his feet wherever he's at. He'll get another opportunity. By the way, congrats, and obviously not the way that he expected to Ryan Saunders, not only in the coaching job, but and I know what this feels like. That's why I went with this, being the only coach who will get carded when he goes out with the team. The Timberwolves, you go through all that they went through, everything with Jimmy Butler. Now you lose the coach. How worried are you for the growth of the young talent that through all of this, like Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins and others, Zeke, are trying to take the next steps in their career?
I'm not worried about the players as much as I am about the organization.
Okay.
Because they really did take a step back. I thought when Sam Mitchell was there, I thought he was doing a great job with those young players. You had Levine, you had Wiggins, you had Katz. They were coming along, and they were doing all right. And then you decided to break that trio up. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a good young trio, and I thought Tibbs made a bet on Butler, on Chicago, and he went and got him. And when you made that bet, I thought I thought Butler and Tibbs would be closer together. They would be, joined at the hip, and they would be able to take it. I think the disconnect came when Butler and Tibbs, somehow they got sideways. And when they got sideways, not only did it fracture their relationship, but I think it also fractured the franchise. So now the franchise is left scrambling because that relationship and that gamble on Butler didn't work out.
I'm going to ask you this, Candace, as a player, because from outside looking in, I'm sure I speak for a lot of people. And I just think from a common sense standpoint of, we always hear about millennials now, and I think about coaches that I've talked to on the baseball side and how they need to treat it differently today. When you've got a roster with all the youth that they had, can it work with a coach like Tom Thibodeau? You paid for Bobby. We've seen coaches have a lot of success who are tough. But in today's day and age, can you be that way with young players at a professional level?
It's a balance. But with this young talent, and especially up until this point, they've been doing this a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And now the coach is gone, Jimmy Butler's gone. Mm-hmm. So now it's going to be like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Tibbs is the way he is. We know him as a coach, obviously. We've heard things down in Chicago with Boylan and his attempt to kind of bring that out of players. But until you want that fire, that desire to be a top player come out of you, it's not going to happen. And right now, if you're not looking at anybody else in the mirror, where this franchise goes is going to be where Kat and Andrew Wiggins takes it.
We're going to see Golden State in this players-only doubleheader. And
but
yes, go ahead.
Let me go back to that because I do think from a coaching standpoint, the coaches do have to find a way to bring that greatness and inspire you to reach down deeper than you thought you could yourself. We watched it with Phil Jackson with Michael Jordan, okay? We watched Pat Summitt do it to you. You watched Coach Knight do it to me. When I got to the NBA, Chuck Daly, had his way of doing. So the great players in this league, whether it be Pat Riley, tweaking Magic Johnson or Kareem a little bit, or, Dwayne Wade or, Shaq, whoever, the great coaches, they have to find a way not only to just rest on your talent, but they got to find a way to inspire you to give more. And I don't feel like Cat or Wiggins have had that fire to get inspired to do more.
Yeah, and I'll recite something near close to here. I've used this before, but Leo Mazzoni, longtime pitching coach for the Braves, told me years ago, I always use this, and I know Griff loves this if he's watching, is coaching sometimes is about knowing where to blow smoke and where to light fire. And I feel like that's some of what I don't know that they've always gotten right. I think that's from the outside what I don't know if Jimmy got right. Those guys seem to, you don't want to use the word coddle, but you need to sometimes be able to push a guy with positivity too, right?
Yeah, but it's a fine line, and that's why the coaches that we just talked about, they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Right, sure.
Because they knew how to get it out of you, but yet make you realize that it was the best for you, right? But I went for a year, and I didn't like Chuck Daly. I didn't like Coach Knight.
Yeah.
I didn't like my high school coach. But now that I'm out of it, I'm glad I had those two coaching me. And I'm sure you felt that way about Coach Summit sometimes.
Definitely. But to add to that, it takes a special player
to
be able to look yourself in the mirror and understand that you have faults and you have things that you have to do better. And sometimes what you think is right is completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they have done that. I don't know. But right now we're going to find out whether they do it or not, because everything around them that has been the quote-unquote problem, those are the only two that are left.
Accountability, right? I mean, you can't win without having it yourself in the mirror, in addition to kind of everybody else. Be interesting to see. I mentioned don't sleep on that Warriors game, not because the Knicks can't beat them, but home losses. We've seen some interesting situations. Go look in that closet. The boogeyman perhaps could be out of it. We got more coming up on Game Time. Did we say some issues? The Sixers, too. We'll get into the process.
About the Spurs and what's made them so effective in this stretch as we take a look at their first 25 games as opposed to their last 15.
Well, for me, the biggest thing is the defensive rating is they've played so well. I'm always amazed when Pops can get a bunch of slow guys, Mike, to play deep. When your bigs are slow, it's hard to have really schemes that work because they're always got to be in sag in positions where they're covering small amounts of the floor. But Pops finds a way to get those guys to play good defense. Every time I watch them play and they play good defense, I'm like, how does he get these guys to do that? But their defense has impressed me. And then they're shooting 5 percentage points better offensively. And in a game where you shoot 100 shots a game, you're making 5 more. I mean, they are taking better shots and taking and making better shots as a team. And he figured out the defensive blend and the offensive blend. Pop's doing a tremendous job. Give him credit.
It's been a juggling act for him the entire season because he had to decide, how do we want to play offensively now? We lose Danny Green, you lose Kawhi, you lose Slow-Mo, and you've lost some key pieces, okay, to their offense and to their defense, the experience part. He brings in some new guys. Wait a minute, I've got to figure out how do I best use DeMar DeRozan, and DeRozan has to figure out what's a San Antonio style of play. Pau Gasol has played 10 games so far this season. Rudy Gay has played 35. He's had some key injuries to guys, so he's been juggling and mixing and matching and trying to find the guy that can be a shot maker on a given night. It used to be Patty Mills that would come off the bench, and I'd look at the box score right away. I'd look to see what Patty Mills did. If he played well, they would win the game usually. Now they've got another guy, okay, who makes some shots coming off the bench, who Forbes was a knockdown shooter all of a sudden, taking Patty's spot on certain nights.
Yeah, Bertans makes shots from the three-point line, doesn't come inside that too much. And the thing I like about him, we talked about this, Mike, earlier a little bit, is, he tells his good shooters to go ahead and shoot a lot of threes. He tells the other guys, hey, look, Pop said, we're going to ease up a little bit on just firing threes up there. Drive and kick, get in the paint, and pass it out. You can take threes late in the clock, but don't take them early. Let's not settle. Let's just keep attacking. And I think every time the ball gets in the paint, it puts so much pressure on the defense, Mike, that you get fouls driving the paint, but those kick-out shots, when you get in the paint and you throw it out, everybody shoots those better. There's more rhythm on that shot.
What I love about Pop is he goes against the grain a lot of times from the standpoint that he doesn't just do what the hot thing to do in the league is. You remember the year back before he won the series against Miami, they shot a lot of threes and won games by shooting threes. Yeah. Then they got to the Miami series that year, moved the ball better than we've ever seen in a long, long time, and that became the new thing. Let's pass the ball quickly. And then he goes back to this kind of team, which is pieces and parts, and he puts it together and plays to what the players' strengths are, what they can do, and this is how we're going to play. We're not going to play the way the league wants us to play.
That's one of the things that he told us as we had the Spurs on TNT on Thursday night. Our broadcast team had a meeting with him prior to the game and asked how it is that he's been able to maintain the Spurs system when the league has gone in such a different playing style direction. And he told us exactly that he's not going to go in that direction simply because the league has, but because he's going to find the strengths of the personnel that he has. He doesn't have the Golden State Warriors roster, so he's not going to make the San Antonio Spurs play the way that they play.
Well, when you have the ability to take your ego and sit down with your best player and say to him, what am I doing wrong? What can I do different? And it turns the entire thing around with LaMarcus Aldridge, where you had a guy who wanted out, wanted to leave, and now winds up getting back to playing like it was the Aldridge from Portland, because the coach is willing to sit down and say, what am I doing wrong, and how can I make or use you better?
Yeah, and he didn't say I'm going to take DeMar DeRozan and turn him into a three-point shooter coming up. He lets him ISO, but he ISOs off of action. He'll have a pin-down action to a curl, open up the side, and let DeRozan go to work. So he allows his guys to be who they are inside of his system, because he just doesn't come down, throw you the ball, and all four guys stand on the other side. They have movement inside of their offense. So when DeRozan is ISOing, it's really often he's coming from the weak side corner with a double pin down action to the top, opening it up for his left or right hand drive. And so they use actions to get him into his ISO. And I think he's done great. And that's one of those weird deals. It doesn't happen in our league a lot. It's happened a few times lately where both teams really benefit from the trade. Like, I just think Kawhi had to get out of San Antonio. That just wasn't going to work. He goes to Toronto. They're leading the Eastern Conference and playing great basketball. And DeRozan is helping the Spurs kind of turn their whole season around and become a whole different team that plays a little differently than Pop's teams normally do, but still very effective.
Well, we're going to be back with more on an 8-game Monday night in the NBA, including Blake Griffin. You just mentioned Bertans. Well, unfortunately here, this is a low light, not a highlight, as he gets bumped a reverse dunk.
We didn't say anything about his defense, though. We said he shoots the ball.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a fair point by you. Well, the NBA on TNT is Thursday night with a doubleheader, starting with the Celtics in Miami to take on the Heat at 7 Eastern, followed by the Thunder in San Antonio to take on the Spurs at 9:30. Your coverage starts with Game Time at 6 right here on NBA TV. Look at this. Look how happy DeMar is to see Coach Casey prior to this game.
Yeah. Good to see that. Dwayne's a really good man. Like